The commander began to explain the mission. He first asked if the party has a knowledge about the evil seeds. The commander tells a story of the evil seed refers to a being, and that demons are born from that being, and the abyss's forces gain strength. Ominous as it sounds, but the commander believes it doesn't look that way, since the evil seed hides its appearance through deception. According to what the commander heard from rumors, the seed shows its true colors under special circumstances. But then Hyan became so intrigued when the commander mentioned that the seed's appearance was a normal young girl. The commander gave the party a hint of an easy way to root it out. The party could use the sun's strength, because the seed germinates the image of the evil under the sun. Commander truthfully told the party that the piece of information they received was just a critical piece and it's up to the party to confirm whether it was true. But in Hyan's case, all the information that the commander had told them matches the description of Louise later that day at the Lulumer Mountain. Unfortunately for Ginny and Yihoon, they felt the extreme pressure of Blizzard unlike Hyan and Ain. In Hyan's mind, he couldn't believe that Louise was considered as a demon. Because the demons in Asrian are deceptive beings of pure evil that they don't feel any hesitation when it comes to killing and get excited at seeing the world immersed in chaos. Back to the party, Yihoon was curious about Hyan and Ain not being affected by the blizzard. Hyan answered Yihoon that due to their achievements, they gained a title that gave them an ability to not get cold. Until the party finally reached their destination, Hyan was looking forward to get more truths from Louise. Based on Ain's knowledge, they are currently at the entrance of the Ice Thorn dungeon where monsters that are over level 300 appeared. Until Ginny fainted when she realized the quest was a major for a user like her. Hyan hoped everyone to calm down since they're at the right place. The party looked at their quest window to analyze the description that says the reward will be given depending on the results. Hyan had a theory that if their mission was a reconnaissance, they have to figure out the meaning of what's depending on their results. And it created a conclusion to Hyan that it will depend on how far they could go. Hyan believes that the quest rewards a user based on how deep they could go, because in Asra, the core of reconnaissance quests was how much of an explored map a user could explore. Hyan also thought it would give them a proximity of a month if they literally explored the Evil Seed dungeon as intended, and that's why Hyan thought of going on top of the mountains, where the party was currently at, to make their job easier. But the catch was, their easy passageway is filled with monsters who are level 300s that could block them in the beginning. Hyan then asked Ain about how much time they have left until it opened. Ain answered that they only have 10 seconds. While Ginny and Yihoon were still puzzled with the situation, unfortunately Hyan couldn't explain further because of the time they were trying to meet. The four of them stand still and looked at each other. The floor suddenly crumbles while Hyan smiled so friendly. Ain was bored, and of course Ginny and Yihoon were panicking, until the mountain created a sinkhole as their entrance. Yihoon finally realized that they just entered a dungeon where they'll just continually fall. But as they fall, Hyan advises everyone to get their bearings since they still have to go further down. Hyan served as their leader, instructed his party to be careful since the land is ice. Luckily, they all landed with their feet and slide like they were skiing. Unfortunately for Ginny, she hits her face and fell. Ain picked her up and advises her to raise her agility next time to keep her balance. Ain was annoyed that she suddenly became a babysitter while Yihoon tried his best to keep his balance despite getting a feeling of falling down. Yihoon wanted to take a break, but Hyan lectured him that it would be unethical since they must maintain their speed. As they slide away, Hyan decided to take the chance of their Ling ride to answer Yihoon's curiosity before. Hyan admits that level 300 monsters will appear along the way, and his solution was to slide past through the monsters. And that's why the party must maintain their speed to get away. As they go further, they all received a notification that their exploration speed just increased up to 12%. And that they passed through the territory of the middle boss named Lamia. As they slide, they finally reach the exploration rate up to 16%. Hyan again advises them to be cautious since it'll be more dangerous as they go down, because the monsters in their current area reacts pretty quickly. Yihoon witnessed how Hyan just dodged the monster like nothing happened. As Yihoon looked back, he saw how gigantic the frog was, yet Hyan just dodged it so easily. But then Ain also sensed something dangerous. She asked Ginny a favor to relax a bit. And all of a sudden, Ain tossed Ginny in the air while the monster attempted to attack her all at once. Ain dodged all the attacks with a poker face, and instantly catched Ginny as she slid past the monster. Ginny was grateful, but Ain wishes for Ginny to be quiet so she could concentrate. Unfortunately, Yihoon doesn't have a fast reflex like Hyan and Ain that a monster almost caught him. Luckily for Yihoon, Hyan saved him from the monster. Yihoon felt so bad that Hyan was caught because of him. All of a sudden, Hyan disappeared from the monster's tongue. As Yihoon looked back, he realized that Hyan dodged the attack by using assimilation. Yihoon realized that they'll be facing more challenging scenarios. Hyan confirmed that they just passed through their warm-up. until they finally reached the exploration rate of 42%. The journey went on, or the four of them, as they slid on the mountain. Yi-hoon was impressed that Hyan's strategy actually worked. They made less effort, yet as they go down to 30 kilometers in 12 minutes and 31 seconds, their agilities had increased. Hyan was glad as he kept in touch in time and realized they were getting closer. Hyan concluded that they are finally in the territory of the abyss since their atmosphere had turned red. Yi-hoon became terrified when Hyan informed his party that the color red is a warning for the four of them that they will soon enter the Ice Thorn Dungeon middle floor boss territory. Yi-hoon hoped Hyan had a plan since the monster was finally awakened as it sensed their presence getting closer to the territory, until it finally appeared before their eyes. Unfortunately for Yi-hoon, since his level was nowhere near Hyan and Ain, the system warned him that fighting against the named monster would be impossible for him to resist every attack. Even the energy itself won't be possible for him to resist. The rest of the party relied on Hyan's wits, hoping Hyan could get them out of the situation since the monster has the same speed as theirs. Hyan informed his team that they must keep going since their situation will only give them a disadvantage if they fight off the monster. The party's only best way and solution was to hold out until they passed through the monster's territory. Even though their only way was to hold out, Hyan still needed his party's help by ordering Ginny to use her priest-exclusive skill she called Bind. The Bind is a support ability wherein targets are connected together with Bind will be kept within a certain distance of each other. They were all lucky that Hyan could predict every monster's attack since Ginny's ability would help them stay together when the monster released its power with a strong wind attribute. They all struggled with the strong wind, but Hyan kept voicing out for his companions to not lose hope. And as for Yi-hoon, he was grateful that one of his parties has a binding ability, or else he would have fallen already. Hyan informed his party again to prepare for the second wave, since the monster will release a much stronger wind attribute, until Hyan uses the effect of the Ring Executioner, the ring he acquired when he met Louise. Hyan knew he had to use it to draw the monster's attention. Hyan's tactics were just a distraction. He got this idea since the attacks from the monster they were currently facing is on the level 400, which he is fully aware that not even his 1-second absorption could be at use. They must execute their plan by dodging and running away to save more energy from the bigger threat they will face soon. Not only was Hyan using his brain in the battlefield, but Ain also used assimilation to dodge the monster's attack. Unlike Hyan and Ain, who has more trained concentration in a battlefield and quests, Ginny on the side already panicked as she thought of the scenario that they were about to face a shooting game right after a racing game. Hyan reminded Ginny that she must use her binding skill once the monster's attack pattern was over. And since Hyan was the one who distracted the monster for a brief time, he assimilated with Ain in order for him to keep up with the others. Their plan was successful that the monster wasn't even close to them nor could make any long-range attacks since its power was cooling down. The party kept sliding down without using many ability, but even so, they were still able to discover the firmament in the abyss and even passed through Shadow's Length, the name of the level they were in. The party finally explored the 93% of the dungeon, which means they were getting closer to their target. But unexpectedly, Hyan noticed the monster coming for a close-range attack, which he thought the monster was just cooling down a seconds before. Since Hyan sensed the monster's devious intention, he instantly responded to it by dodging a massive attack. Hyan was the real MVP all the way through their journey by acting as the leader who guides his party member, and also a man who thinks of any strategies to execute a difficult situation. But just when Hyan thought they were almost there at their target destination, he couldn't believe he still had to act as the leader even though they were near. Turns out, his party members slid in a wrong direction. Yi-hoon panicked as he heard Hyan's voice warning them that they just made a wrong turn. And as for Ain, who was just caught up by their new comrades since she was carrying Ginny. In the end, they finally made a stop. And of course, with Hyan, who managed to bring everyone with him into safety. Back then, Hyan actually thought his party would actually fall in different directions. Luckily, Hyan was able to make a quick reflex by grabbing onto his party member. And with the help of Ginny's binding, Hyan was able to throw them into the right direction together. And on top of that, they all survived such a dangerous action. But for Yi-hoon, as a natural reaction for a rookie like him, panicked as he realized how brutal Hyan and Ain's usual gameplay was. All of a sudden, Ginny wishes to confront Hyan. Hyan hoped she wasn't angry since he didn't explain to the new party members how dangerous their journey would be. Ginny then asked if Hyan ever dreamed of being a professional gamer. Turns out, Ginny deeply idolizes Hyan's gameplay and also his dynamics with Ain, which is a combination of intelligence and muscle. She didn't expect Hyan to be so smart as to execute any impossible and dangerous situation. Ginny then thought that if she couldn't convince Hyan to join Stardust to be an asset for their guild, then she would instead take the opportunity to learn from Hyan. With such pure heart and inspired soul, Ginny genuinely asked Hyan if he was willing to be her teacher. Hyan was confused since he didn't expect for someone to admire his hard work. Ginny was persistent and hoped for Hyan to agree with her offer since she was deeply fascinated with his gameplay. But Hyan wasn't so sure about the offer since he was not that close to Ginny yet. Ginny was desperate to get better at her gameplays that she was willing to pay Hyan any valid amount she has. On the other hand, Ain was glad that Ginny didn't ask her to be a teacher since she doesn't have the brains like Hyan. Hyan suddenly thought of a scenario whether he would get any benefits or none since even though he might get paid, teaching basics would take a lot of time. Suddenly, Hyan became a business-minded man. But in the end, Hyan agreed to be Ginny's teacher, but he has a few conditions for her. First, Ginny must show her status window in order for Hyan to judge her ability and think of a way to teach his students. And the other condition was Ginny must help Hyan if ever he asked for help. The help could be with completing a quest or even fighting against a user. Hyan hoped Ginny's okay with his negotiation, because of the outcomes of his idea where Ginny could be a professional gamer could benefit him a lot and especially for Ginny's state of course. But not even a minute had passed and Ginny instantly agreed with Hyan's offer, because in Ginny's perspective, being taught by a top-ranker gamer was a privilege. Since Ginny took a shot and was now an official student of Hyan, Yihoon also thought of making himself Hyan's student as well. Ginny and Yihoon in the background was having a brief celebration with a dumbfounded Ain, while Hyan smirked like a villain as he thought of the future of his gaming career. After their negotiation, the party went further until the place got hotter. Until they finally explored the 99% of the dungeon, meaning they are near their target place. Yihoon was certain that they were in a right place since he was already feeling the heavy atmosphere, because in front of them was the Evil Seed Dungeon's Door of the Dead. Not only had they found the right place, but they also noticed the terrifying dried-up corpses displayed on the door. The party felt like they were about to get sick with the gory visual except Ain, who had deja vu with her experience back in Asra Online. But Hyan remembered clearing the same quest in Asra all alone. Ain was offended since her memory was crystal clear that she cleared the quest with Hyan. Hyan felt like Ain would throw a punch anytime due to his bad memory. Hyan recalled that in front of the door, they will face a mid-ranking boss like how they played in Asra Online. But Hyan had to be careful since due to his recent experience, some features in Asran Online was different from Asra, just like the time he met an NPC Louise, and the existence of a new map called the Symmetrical World. Hyan thought of the situation carefully, or things might surprise him a minute he let down his guard, though he believed he might get an important hint that could connect things based on his gaming experiences. While Hyan tried to connect the dots, Yihoon already felt uneasy since he was fully aware that they are currently facing the final boss area. Luckily, Ginny has knowledge about the final boss, which is known to be Betty, a humanoid bat-type monster that uses magic. She also recalled Betty as someone known as the Batwoman back in Asra Online. Based on Ginny's knowledge, Betty is a level 200 named boss. Chills were sent down on Ginny and Yihoon's spine even though it was their fault they got scared when Ginny recalled the monster to be so vicious and difficult. The rookies were terrified and hoped Hyan had a plan. But Hyan assured that they would execute the plan at ease since the monster they faced before when they were sliding down was at level 400, yet they survived. The rookies finally felt relieved that they have a smart leader in their party. Ain and Hyan gave the rookies a reassuring smile that could comfort them that nothing wrong will happen since Ain and Hyan are much experienced gamers. The gameplay will go smoothly as long as they all follow Hyan's plan. Hyan and Ain lead the way to a burning hot path. While Hyan was amazed with the game structure, Yihoon was suffering from the hot temperature. And because of the game's sensory synchronization feature, they really felt like they were in hell. All of a sudden, Ain noticed something unusual in the lava. They all panicked since the lava was rising. Luckily, Hyan was certain that the rising of the lava was just temporary after the fight with the named monster was over. As they went further, their path was blocked. The party instantly prepared like they knew the boss would appear soon. Hyan informed his party members to get ready since the monster had just made its entrance. And finally, Betty the named monster made a flashy arrival. The rookies were already pressured only with a glimpse of the monster. Betty, the final boss in the dungeon's evil seed that looked like a fox bat. Betty is also known as the Area Guardian with a level of 235. A huge scary aura was released as soon as Betty said her dialogue. The system gave each player a notification that Betty was trying to intimidate them, which they could feel since the game has its realistic features. Even Hyan and Ain, who had more experience, were intimidated and felt the goosebumps as Betty speaks. After Betty's speech, it was their cue to get started and ordered Ginny to take the lead. Ginny didn't expect that a priest like her would actually take the lead. But of course, the reason for that was Hyan knew that Betty's scariest skill called the rear leap is that she could instantly teleport to the target's back and smash them using her tail. and the best lineup was to put the weakest in front. Hyun was also aware that with their current level, they won't be able to dodge nor block it. What Betty didn't know was that she just targeted the strongest one in the team. Hyun smirked when he realized Betty just took the bait and assimilated with Ain. Betty misses her attack when Hyun suddenly assimilated. Betty was deeply disappointed that her opponent just outsmarted her. After Betty went to a close-range attack, it was Jinny's cue to tie up Betty with chains with the help of her magic. After Betty was tied up, it was time for the fighters in the party to make the move, which was Ain and Yi-hoon. Yi-hoon was the first one to attack. Yi-hoon was able to give Betty a critical hit which made their enemy lose consciousness for a brief moment. After Yi-hoon, it was Ain's turn to attack. Though Hyun insisted on helping, Ain assures that she could handle the fight on her own. Betty was in agony as she felt Ain's fist. Betty knew she was going to be defeated. She was furious that she was able to break through Jinny's binding. Jinny was affected since her magic was broken by a vicious creature. Until Betty disappeared and Hyun instantly called Jinny to go front since Betty's pattern will repeat. The body rearranged their lineup since Betty is ready for a second attack but more furious due to a humiliating strategy of her opponent. Betty was pissed off and more bloodthirsty than ever. But for her second attack, she swore that she'll blow everyone away with her hot wind attribute power. Jinny panicked because Betty changed her attacking pattern, while Ain was thrilled to see what was coming for them. And as for Yi-hoon, his mind was jumbled about how he could defend himself while Hyun on the back reminded his team to remain their formation. The party was lucky to have Hyun not just because he is a leader, but also he memorized most of Betty's patterns that would easily be defeated as long as they follow Hyun's plans. Betty was raging like she felt her opponent was underestimating her, while Jinny hoped they could annihilate Betty's rampage. Since Betty's wind gotten much stronger, Hyun instructed Jinny to use her binding magic. Hyun noticed that Betty's intention was to blow them all the way to the lava. Luckily, Jinny's binding magic was at use to hold them all together and made them stay at their footing. Hyun also noticed that Betty's pattern was that she always attacks on her rear. So as soon as Betty's wind power came to an end, it was time for the party to make a move for their next attack. Until Hyun was caught in Betty's eyes, which was a distraction to prevent Betty from attacking his team. But as soon as Betty got closer to Hyun, he assimilated with Ain for him to not be affected with the counterattack. And Betty ended up hitting himself against a wall thinking she got Hyun by herself. The wall was demolished as it was hit by Betty's body. As for Betty, she was confused since Hyun suddenly disappeared on sight. Betty's accident was actually a point for the party since Betty took a critical hit damage from banging against a structure because of her intention of killing Hyun. She took a 91,285 damage points. The damage points were too high that normally to any players or entities would have died. But since Betty is a boss monster, the damage she took didn't kill her in an instant. Because after all, Betty is a level 235 named boss. That probably won't be easy to die. Hyun informed his team to be prepared since they only cut down at 10% of Betty's health points. And Betty's rampage earlier was just a warm-up. Hyun hoped his team to be more focused until the end of the battle. Meanwhile, from the game developers' point of view, they were observing Hyun's party battling against Betty at the Asrian online monitoring room. The watchers were mesmerized because of Hyun's intelligence and strategies being effective to neutralize Betty. The watcher knew Hyun is unique unlike players across the globe. Just when Hyun and his party were about to succeed, some error happened inside the game. The game developers went to look for the error thinking it was just a bug. But as they looked further, the error wasn't a bug and they discovered that there was a transcendent who got involved in a fight. The game developers knew it would give Hyun and his party a hard time since a transcendent are artificial intelligence who has free will. The game developers couldn't explain the situation since transcendent don't usually interfere with a user in such a way. Back to the party's situation. Betty was already struggling since Hyun and the rest kept outsmarting her. Betty's blood splattered all over the place until she finally couldn't move. Hyun felt like something's bad was going to happen. Because Betty's health points were already empty, yet no sign of death was seen. Hyun concluded that they would go for another phase or another monster since Betty was not yet declared defeated. Until the woman from the Darkness Guild appeared out of the blue. It was Mayday. Hyun noticed that her presence might have intertwined with their quest. They were all shocked as they witnessed Mayday being absorbed by Betty's body. But Ain was even more shocked since she is aware that Mayday just assimilated with Betty just like the skill that her and Hyun usually use. The rookies panicked because right after Mayday assimilated with Betty, Betty's defeated body was revived. Even Hyun panicked even though he already expected for the scenario to get worse. But he didn't expect to encounter a much worse case scenario since their opponent has the rare ability like he has. And just like that, all their efforts to kill Betty was washed down the drain when she became perfectly fine as soon as it assimilated with Mayday. But Mayday also had no idea that she just assimilated with the vicious monster. She has no idea what just happened to her. Because earlier then, before she assimilated with Betty, she remembered that she was walking in the plaza, and suddenly she was alone. She couldn't explain the phenomena, like she was affected by the game bug or something. All of a sudden, a system notification window appeared in front of her about a hidden quest called The Demon's Deal, wherein the Archdemon Act. Betty wishes to borrow Mayday's soul. Mayday knew she just literally got the opportunity of a lifetime because Betty is known to be one of the top archdemons along with darkness and chaos. Betty knew she must take the opportunity since it would have a great impact on her reputation as the second ranked and an Abyss user. But right after Mayday accepted the quest, she woke up as Betty. Before she began to fight against Hyan and his party, the game informed her about Betty's identification, which she became certain that she just possessed a named boss. The goal of Betty's quest as an Abyss user was to defeat the Heavens user, and those are Ain and the Rook. But Mayday most likely had no idea that Hyan was also an Abyss user. Mayday analyzes her opponents first, and to her surprise, she saw Ain, which she kind of hated due to her arrogant behavior in the past. Mayday became more pumped up since not only was she mad at Ain, but she was also using an archdemon's body, which could make her stronger on the battlefield. Mayday knew she had a 100% chance of winning. Mayday decided to avenge her guild from Ain, who humiliated them twice. Mayday was furious and swore to make Ain pay, especially their interaction in the Count's quest, where hundreds of players and guilds fought against Hyan and Ain in the shrine. The party team thought of sticking to their plan and lineups. Unfortunately, Hyan believed it would be unnecessary because their current opponent is not an artificial intelligence anymore who was programmed to have battle patterns. It was a difficult challenge for Hyan's team since from then on, their opponent will be unpredictable. There's no point in sticking with their formation anymore. They have no choice but to practice dodging. Ihun was unfortunate since Mayday was too fast that he wasn't able to dodge. He tried to block the attack using his sword, but it was ineffective. Ihun was instantly defeated. For the first time, not only Jinny was panicking, but the feelings were all mutual to the party members when they witnessed Ihun died before their eyes. Hyan couldn't think of a way to win. What's more unfortunate was that Ain and Hyan were almost running out of magic. Mayday was having the best day of her life as she sees the fear in her opponent's eyes, while Hyan unexpectedly encountered the worst possibilities. Hyan couldn't come up with a plan since fighting a player wasn't part of his plan. Before Betty assimilated with Mayday, Hyan was alright with his plan since he was fighting a named monster with cliché battle moves. Not until Mayday arrived, and what's worse was that she is a second-ranked gamer in Israel Online. Hyan knew it was a great idea that he brought along Jinny and Ihun in the first place. Ain and Hyan asked Jinny a favor to buff them since they were running out of magic. Jinny does the favor right away. The buffs worked, and what's more surprising was that a single buff spell affected Hyan since he was assimilated with Ain. Ain and Hyan health points increased, especially their mana, and their damage output. It's like the powers they stored before had recovered. Meanwhile, from Mayday's perspective, she realized Ain was buffed because of Jinny. And since she was an asset, Mayday targeted Jinny first. Unfortunately, Jinny had died. Hyan felt bad that they had nothing to do to save Jinny, and more like they used her as their bait right after they were buffed. Ain was excited to finally use her ultimate. After Mayday saw the smirk on Ain's face, she knew everything's going down. Hyan advised Ain to watch out for Mayday or Betty's tail since it was the creature's deadly weapon, and it also has a fast speed. Ain finally used her ultimate awakening skill with an intimidating name called Prepared for Extinction. It was a powerful ability wherein most of her stats will be steady with a cooldown time of 24 hours. Shortly after a while, the battle went on. The dungeon was slowly falling apart since it was a battle of two monstrous beings. Even though the two of them were equal, the only difference was that Mayday was the only one struggling to keep up with her powerful enemy. Mayday was already irritated with her opponent since Ain is an abnormal and sadistic player. No matter what efforts Mayday has to show, somehow, Ain still managed to dodge. Hyan complimented Ain and hoped she could be consistent and unpredictable until Mayday became tired. Mayday was indeed impressed with Ain's capabilities, but Ain wasn't aware that Mayday is far from being a mage like her previous job. She then revealed that her new skill is Psychokinesis Sorcerer, which she could manipulate objects. Since Mayday's skill acquires magic, it was Hyan's turn to be in charge in the battle. Hyan immediately used the 1-second absorption, which blocked any magical counterattack aiming at them. Mayday was irritated that none of her attacks even hit nor hurt Ain. Hyan noticed that Mayday's been shaken up due to her failures, until Ain's body was suddenly frozen. She tried so hard to counterattack, but it was like she was not in control of her own body. Hyan recognized the spell to be the air restraint, where the target could be controlled in mid-air. Mayday was delighted to see Ain struggling to move. She would take the opportunity like anything just to see her finally being defeated. Mayday felt so smart at the moment since restraining Ain's movements actually worked. She also remembered that Ain is also a magic user, which is relevant to her psychokinesis magic. And it also means that Ain's resistance would be low since they are both magic users. Just when Mayday thought she finally got it, Ain made a terrifying face, which she knew she's about to humble Mayday so bad. Mayday was dumbfounded when Ain managed to move on and scathed her. She couldn't explain nor think of any logic how Ain moved. Mayday was irritated again since she kept losing against Ain. Mayday was scathed, while on the other hand, Ain was perfectly fine and freed from the psychokinesis power. Turns out, Ain was freed because of the strategy of no other than Hyan. Hyan believed that psychokinesis might be a bothersome power, but since he thought more about it, he had come up with ways to break through from it. Based on Hyan's knowledge, a psychokinesis sorcerer's air restraint is a skill that lets a user hold weak or light things. But Hyan had a logic that if the user's target, which was Ain, passes a certain speed threshold, she could break through the magic. In Ain's case, Mayday only grabbed Ain's claws, which she thought was Ain's only biggest weapon, but little did she know was that Ain has an awakening power called the wind barrier. Because of the wind barrier, Ain used it as a support to jump off, which allowed her to free herself from the air restraint. Mayday ascended to make another attack. She couldn't take it anymore since none of her strategies worked on Ain. Ain kept surprising her opponent when she showed Mayday that she could also be faster than her. The reason why Mayday flew away was to get out of Ai's close-range attack. But to her surprise, Ain had already caught up with her in the blink of an eye. And since they don't have much time left, Hyan advised Ain to finish Mayday off. And of course, Ain's favorite behavior when it comes to a battle was to go on a rampage. Mayday was mutinously beat it up. No matter how many times she tried to escape, Ain always pops up in front of her. Mayday panicked and randomly thought of any strategies, thinking she could get away. She thought going to a surface spot might be a great idea. Not until Ain embarrassingly grabbed her long ears. And for Ain's final attack, since she finally had Mayday in her hands, her last attack was to smash Mayday on the ground from a tall height of midair. On Mayday's last moment being in Betty's body, she knew she was going to die. In the end, Ain once again won against a member from the Darkness Guild. After Mayday was defeated, she woke as her real form. She came back to a lobby that looked like a park whenever players logged into the game. Mayday felt ashamed since her notification contains information about how disappointed the archdemon Betty was in her. Her quest was a major one which she lost, and decided she must report her defeat to the Darkness Guild. After a while, in the Darkness Guild they all reviewed Ain's battle methods, which they recognized since it was the same moves she used in the Count's quest. They were all terrified since Ain's ultimate seemed to surpass a stage 4. XL revealed that he had gathered information from XSRA players, which they all stated that it was indeed difficult to play an Awakening quest. They also concluded that a player only has a stage 3 limit, and that most players only got to a second stage, and those who reached the 4th couldn't manage to complete it. XL, who had grown fond of Ain before, was threatened since she was able to beat a named boss at level 235, considering that her level wasn't even that high. Until it finally hit XL that back then, Ain actually completed the Awakening quest, the time when Hyan and Ain faced their clone selves made from the abyss. The Darkness Guild quickly tried to come up with theories if Ain's skills have a weakness, but one guild member objects to judge since they don't have much information about Ain's Awakening abilities. XL then recommended his guild members to make an offer to an XSRA player. He believed that an XSRA player might have a lot of information regarding Ain's ultimate, so they could finally beat her. Lucky for them, their leader seemed to have a lot of connections to meet an XSRA player. XL thought his idea was a perfect timing since he was also planning to increase the Darkness Guild size. Back to Ain and Hyan's situation, the system notified them that they finally won. The system gave Ain and Hyan a brief storyline that since Betty was defeated, she won't resent her fate. Betty will reincarnate again and defend the dungeon until the end of time. And since Ain and Hyan were the first players to defeat Betty, their vitality had increased. They also had 30% Abyss achievement bonus applied. Ain and Hyan had a close lucky call since their health points was at a verge of death. They felt so lucky that they managed to survive. While Ain was still hung up with their recent major quest, Hyan was busy looting the treasures in the dungeon. Ain couldn't help but to admire Hyan because of his talent's consistency ever since his time in Asra. Because no matter the situation, Hyan always finds a solution. Hyan always managed to surprise Ain, especially when he thought of using the wind barrier to break through Mayday's spell. Hyan suddenly caught Ain being flung out of space. He then advised Ain that they must loot more items since they earned their victory. The lave also went down and opened a path for the players since they finished the battle with Betty. While the two of them were having a chat, Ain thought about spending time with Hyan. And each of those moments she had with Hyan, Ain was grateful that Hyan stayed by his side. Later that day, Hyan and Ain explored 100% of the dungeon. Unfortunately, it was only the two of them since the rookies were eliminated. And since they won the major quest, they are able to obtain the highest reward. As they went further to the dungeon, Ain was mesmerized by the treasure, because in front of them was the seed that looked like a jewel. Hyan was surprised since he thought the seed the game was talking about was a person. Even so, he was relieved since Louise wasn't the evil seed. While Hyan thought of Louise, Ain was distracted by the beauty of their treasure and thought of touching it. All of a sudden, the two of them were mysteriously teleported to another place. The next Hyan knew, he was transported in a dark pitch-black place. Turns out, it was just a cinematic feature the game has for the players to watch after clearing a mission. Hyan realized that it was the aftermath after touching the jewel. Hyan recognized the video to be the scene of the heavens, which Hyan frequently goes to in Asra Online. And in the video, there was a familiar little girl. And it was Louise. It turns out Louise was originally an angel. Hyan also noticed that Louise has a crystal-made wings which symbolize that she is a royal angel. The video turns out to be Louise's backstory when she met a mysterious devil that made her life so miserable. And that devil was Cadriel, the antagonist of Asrian Online. Hyan was confused about a demon who was able to have access in the heavens. Cadriel touched Louise's forehead like she was putting a curse on her. Hyan was furious since Ek cared so much for Louise, yet he just witnessed how Cadriel took Louise's childhood from her. Ever since Louise met Cadriel, she was filled with black energy that made him look like a little demon. Cadriel then opened a portal and took the innocent little Louise with her. Hyan hated everything he saw in the video since he was aware how genuinely innocent Louise was. Hyan wondered why the game would play Louise's backstory at the end of battle with Betty. Hyan began overthinking about what was Cadriel's intention towards Louise and why she would target a child, until he heard Ain's voice to snap him back to reality. Ain was concerned since Hyan looked uneasy with the cinematic video they just had watched. Ain noticed that Hyan must have a clue about the video since she has no idea. Hyan was still hung up from the video, but he promised Ain that he'd explain the full details once he organized his thoughts. Until Hyan noticed a necklace laying on the ground that appeared all of a sudden. Hyan became more uneasy and became more worried about Louise since he was familiarized with the necklace. Hyan was certain that it belonged to the NPC he cared about. But the necklace was revealed to be just an accessory that could be sold. But Hyan doesn't care about making money, and was just concerned since Louise's belongings appeared in front of him all of a sudden like it was a secret message for him. After their adventure in the dungeon, Ain and Hyan were approached by the Knight Commander. They were congratulated because of their success, and even the Knight Commander Ali had grown affection towards them. The two of them obviously gained a lot of points in their stats, but Ain couldn't help but to look at Hyan, who seemed unpleasant. After their success, the two of them were escorted out of the castle and were promised that the commander would be at help if they needed anything. Hyan was still a downer since the video they watched wasn't even a full detail nor a clue to find Louise. Hyan kept spacing out until Ain tried to talk to her by changing the subject about the clothes they found in the dungeon. Ain reminded Hyan that he actually planned to wear the clothes that Betty dropped after the fight. The cloth was called the robe of the praying priest with an empathy point of 100 and a durability of 140/140. The robe has a strong power hidden within that also has a 97% defense. The two of them tried to admire the robe, but Hyan seemed to be not so interested in it. Ain then wondered if Hyan wishes to dispose of his clothes since he got a new pair which is stronger than what he has recently. And since Hyan wanted to change his clothing, he decided to lend the old ones to Ain. Hyan wore the robe, and it made him look like a noble prince. Hyan suddenly remembered the incident where Mayday assimilated with Betty. He also remembered that he acquired the assimilating ability right after defeating a named boss. It all makes sense to Hyan that most of his powers might have something to do with the abyss. While Ain was acting like a child who plays with Hyan's old clothes, Hyan realized that his robe's abilities might be really special since it requires his prayer attribute to reach level 6. Later that day, Hyan decided to visit a church. The church was called the Empire's Temple, Grand Chapel. Hyan gave it a shot and prayed to see if it would increase his pray attribute. Though it was strange since no matter how hard he tried, the proficiency has not been increasing unlike his experience in Twiglight when he prayed and met Louise. Hyan tried to recall the knowledge he had learned. He remembered how to emphasize a transcending will which he must lower his consciousness and feel the traces of a transcendent. Until he realized that since Louise was an angel that could mean that she was also a transcendent. After his sudden realization, the system magically made Hyan's proficiency of prey increased. Since his prey proficiency increased to level 4 when he thought of Louise, he became more certain that Louise might be connected to the recent phenomena. He decided that he would just think of Louise as he prays until his proficiency reached the certain level he needed. But as he thought of Louise, he felt a strange emotion that felt like it was following him. He then realized that it must be sadness since Hyan longed for Louise. All of a sudden, tears fell down as he thought of Louise. Hyan still kept on praying, but all he felt was sympathy for Louise's tragedy. Later that day, Hyan received a text message from Yihoon. Yihoon seemed to be okay right after he was executed by Betty Act. A Mayday, Yihoon congratulated Hyan for being successful at the quest. Hyan was worried for Yihoon since he didn't get the first kill, but Yihoon seemed to be an open-minded person who would rather congratulate a friend than be petty. Yihoon talked about his career of becoming a professional gamer, until he brought up in the conversation that Jinny asked for Hyan's number since they made a compromise that Hyan will be their teacher. After their conversation, Hyan gave his number to Jinny. And Hyan also thought about the two rookies who has a sportsmanship spirit, because if Hyan was in their shoes, he would do anything just to avoid a death penalty. Right after Hyan gave his number, he suddenly got a call from Jinny. He was shocked that Jinny actually fulfilled her promise to pay Hyan if he agreed to be her teacher, but the price was so high that it cost $50,000 like Hyan was some sort of prestigious gamer. Jinny decided to call Hyan to congratulate him on winning the quest. Hyan yelled out of shock because Jinny just gave her a high amount of money just for the class fee. But Jinny confessed that the $50,000 wasn't for the class fee, but it was for clearing the quest. Hyan felt like his sense of reality was breaking even though Jinny's reason was pretty valid. Because Jinny actually asked some pro players and them all told Jinny that skill points are actually pretty worthy. And she decided that Hyan deserved that amount after his success on a major quest. Hyan never expected to get paid such an amount like he was a CEO or something. Jinny also promised that Hyan will get paid more in the future as long as he kept clearing major quests. Deep down, Jinny was aware that Hyan had no idea how worthy the items are, especially the skill points in a popular game on the outside world. Jinny just wanted to make Hyan realize that his talent made him such an important person. Hyan tried to negotiate to lower the price because he was so overwhelmed. Hyan felt like he was going to be insane with the amount of money. Hyan believed that he wouldn't be such a great teacher after all, and it was unnecessary for Jinny to give him a 5-digit pay. Hyan wondered if Jinny was trying to bribe him or just desperately just wanted to give him some money. Hyan wondered if he should think of Asrian Online different from Asra that was labeled as the failed game. And Hyan also realized that some gamers really sell their items for a lot of money even though the items were bad. Not only are items being the reason why some gamers are getting rich, they also gain some profit for being a ranker and appearing on television or advertisements. Hyan finally realized that the game he played for entertainment could also serve as capitalism. Hyan had an identity crisis as a gamer. In the end, he decided to be more confident since he is the first-ranked gamer of Asra Online. The next day, Yihoon meets up with Hyan for their class. But as the three walked together at the Knight's Middle Hall, Yihoon was conscious because they were the center of attention. Hyan just told the two rookies to relax since they had just gained popularity from clearing the Knights Commander's quest. They even got a lot of respect as the Knights gave them a salutation since they are the first users to face Betty. Jinny was amazed by Hyan, but Hyan believed that their victory must be for each of their team who helped and contributed, until the three of them finally reached their destination. The two rookies were mesmerized since their whereabouts was made out of marble even though it was just a gymnasium for them to train. The reason why the gymnasium was covered in marble is because it has magic in it so that no attack would scratch the place. Though the place was actually built for the knights, due to Hyan's recent reputation, he gained the privilege to have access to the gymnasium. Hyan's class finally started. Deep down, Hyan just wanted to return the favor since he is aware that the two rookies have genuine intentions. Hyan believed that the two rookies deserved it, and he as a teacher will do his best even though his first lesson was the basics. Hyan spent his day teaching Yihoon and Jinny the basics of in-game activities that couldn't be done in real life. He patiently explained game mechanics and unique skills needed to succeed. He explained that if they managed to raise their agility stat to 50, they could achieve an impressive feat within the game like running a distance of 100 meters in just 5 seconds. Indeed, Hyan emphasized to Jinny and Yihoon that mastering the skill of running at such incredible speed would provide them with a significant advantage in combat situations. Hyan offered a crucial piece of advice to achieve the incredible speed and agility required to run so fast in the game. They would need to let go of their real-life sense of balance and rely solely on their thoughts and intentions. Hyan decided to demonstrate what it would look like if they could indeed run at an astonishing speed, Hyan effortlessly outmaneuvering an overwhelming and outnumbered group of opponents all by himself. Jinny and Yihoon watched in sheer astonishment as Hyan's performance unfolded before their eyes. What added to the astonishment was Hyan's exceptional precision during the training session. Not only did he display remarkable agility, but he also demonstrated incredible accuracy. Hyan drew a comparison to explain his mindset during their training. He likened it to the way a person thinks about a sentence while typing. Yi-hoon, inspired by Hyan's demonstration, decided to give it a try himself. However, as he attempted to move at the high speed required, he encountered a challenge. Maintaining his balance at such a rapid pace proved to be quite difficult. Learning from their experiences, Jinny and Yi-hoon realized the importance of taking notes on all the valuable tips and guidance that Hyan had shared with them. As Jinny and Yi-hoon attempted to imitate Hyan's movements and techniques under his guidance, they encountered considerable challenges. Observing Jinny's efforts, Hyan provided valuable advice based on her character's role as a priest. He emphasized the importance of having a degree of agility, even for a priest, to enhance her survivability in the game. Hyan couldn't help but notice an interesting pattern in Yi-hoon's performance. On his first attempt, Yi-hoon seemed to be doing quite well. But on the second try, he consistently faced difficulties. Hyan realized that Yi-hoon was essentially imitating Ain's gameplay style. Despite Yi-hoon and Jinny's initial struggles, Hyan had unwavering faith in their potential for improvement. He recognized their experience as professional gamers and knew that their dedication and skills would eventually shine through. While Jinny and Yi-hoon continued to put in their best efforts during their training sessions, Hyan wisely took the opportunity to work on his own skills to increase his proficiency in the skill of praying. While Hyan was occupied with his training and skill development, Ain took a moment to reach out through chat. She was eager to embark on a quest together with Hyan. Feeling a sense of accomplishment in today's training session with Jinny and Yi-hoon, Hyan decided it was time to wrap things up and turned his attention to Ain's invitation for a quest. Back in the real world, Hyan returned to his apartment. Hyan was genuinely shocked when he received a message from Jinny, which included a significant sum of $3,000. He was touched by the gesture but couldn't help but feel a sense of unease. He began to overthink, questioning whether his teaching methods had been appropriate or if he had inadvertently conveyed the wrong impression. From Jinny's perspective, she held a strong belief that high-quality classes and training should not be free. A week later, the training sessions for Jinny and Yi-hoon resumed. Yi-hoon, in particular, showed significant improvement compared to their previous attempts. Yi-hoon's determination and hard work had paid off, and he successfully imitated Hyan's demonstration just as he had aimed to do. Yi-hoon couldn't contain his disbelief and joy at his newfound success. Hyan couldn't have been prouder of his pupil, Yi-hoon, seeing Yi-hoon's progress and the skills he had acquired through their training. Yi-hoon's feelings of self-doubt and his belief that his performance wasn't sufficient weighed on his mind, even though he had made significant progress. Hyan was genuinely pleased with his decision to place faith in Yi-hoon and Jinny as fast learners, even though his lessons had started with the basics. Hyan held a strong belief that if Jinny and Yi-hoon remained consistent in their efforts and dedication, they had a real chance of advancing to a level where they could unlock and awaken new skills, just as he and Ain had done. At this point, Hyan believed that he had taught Jinny and Yi-hoon all he could for the time being. He decided to take some time for himself to focus on increasing his proficiency rate in the skill of praying. To Hyan's surprise and delight, his dedication to improving his proficiency in praying had paid off. He achieved a proficiency rate of 100%, indicating mastery in this skill, and had reached level 6 in his pray stats. Hyan couldn't contain his fascination and excitement as he realized that his newfound mastery in praying had unlocked the seal on the robe of the praying priest. As Hyan examined the information, he was utterly astonished by its incredible attributes. It now unlocked and at its full potential, possessed the remarkable ability of granting invincibility to its wearer. But whenever Hyan used an assimilation skill while wearing the robe, the skill's effects would be applied to his target, but with an added cooldown of 24 hours. Despite the incredible power of the robe of the praying priest and the newfound abilities it granted him, Hyan remained humble and aware of the need for further understanding. Hyan's intrigue grew even further as he learned that once he reached level 9, additional extra abilities would be unlocked, further enhancing the robe's capabilities. Jinny and Yi-hoon, deeply engrossed in their training, were startled when they noticed Hyan's sudden reaction due to the robe having a lot of mysteries. Hyan decided to take some well-deserved time to unwind and reflect on the month of intensive practice with his newly acquired skills. Hyan decided to take a more relaxed approach for the time being. He recognized the importance of not overwhelming himself with too much stress and anticipation. Hyan was shocked as he received another generous class fee of $3,000 from Jinny. This unexpected act of kindness left him deeply puzzled. Hyan's mind was consumed by questions and doubts as he wondered if his classes were truly of such high quality that they warranted payment. Just as Hyan was savoring his moments of solitude and introspection, Ain suddenly appeared, breaking the tranquility of his alone time. Hyan couldn't help but express his curiosity about why Ain had seemingly appeared out of nowhere, catching him by surprise. Hyun denied that there was anything wrong with him since Ain was too young for her to know things that had something to do with money. As Hyun engaged in the conversation with Ain, he couldn't help but reflect on her invaluable role in his journey as a gamer, including infiltrating the heavens despite Hyun hailing from the abyss side. Feeling a renewed sense of camaraderie and adventure, Hyun decided to extend an invitation to Ain for their next virtual journey. As Hyun and Ain prepared to embark on their new adventure, they were suddenly spotted by another gamer who recognized them. The young gamer who had spotted Hyun and Ain was clearly delighted to come across two players whom they regarded as amazing. Tatar called out for Ain and Hyun's attention, eager to engage with the two experienced players. As they engaged in conversation with Tatar, Hyun and Ain couldn't help but wonder about the young gamer's intentions and what he might want from them. Hyun, with straightforward honesty, told Tatar that if he wished to ask for a quest or assistance, they wouldn't be able to help at the moment due to their own busy schedules. Tatar revealed that he had been actively searching for Ain and Hyun for an entire month. Observing the situation and Tatar's apparent enthusiasm, Hyun couldn't help but wonder if Tatar was primarily a fan of Ain. Tatar's enthusiasm grew as he shared that Ain's fame had reached a level where everyone who played Asrian online knew about her. He even revealed that he was the one who uploaded the video of Ain's gameplay that made her famous. Hyun and Ain, upon hearing Tatar's confession, didn't feel touched or impressed. Instead, they began to view Tatar's actions as those of a stalker. Feeling a bit annoyed and uncomfortable with Tatar's behavior, Hyun and Ain decided to go ahead with their initial plan to head out for their own adventure. Tatar, left standing there, was dumbfounded and taken aback by the unexpected turn of events. Despite the initial misunderstanding and the discomfort it had caused, Tatar remained persistent. Tatar assumed that Hyun and Ain deserved a clearer understanding of his intentions and actions. Tatar's mention of potential revenue from the viral video caught Hyun's attention. The idea that their gameplay video had garnered such widespread attention that it could generate income. With the topic of potential revenue and financial opportunities on the table, Hyun decided to approach Tatar more directly. Ain couldn't help but feel bewildered as she observed Hyun giving his full attention to Tatar, especially since their initial encounter had left them feeling wary of his intention. Ain's confusion deepened as she noticed that Hyun had been acting mysteriously lately. Recognizing the need to redirect their focus and embark on a new adventure, Ain approached Hyun that they should set their sights to the heavens achievement. Hyun, despite the earlier confusion and concerns, decided to give Tatar a chance. To do so, he asked Ain, whose level was 82, to demonstrate her abilities to Tatar. Hyun, offering practical advice, advised Tatar to work on increasing his level, which would make it more comfortable for them to assist him. Hyun, taking on the role of a mentor or big brother figure, stood up to offer Tatar some valuable gaming advice. As Hyun chose to spend more time with Tatar, offering guidance and mentorship, while Ain stood there, growing increasingly impatient, Hyun inquired about Tatar's earnings from his viral video, specifically if he had made at least 8,000 from it. However, it turned out that Tatar's YouTube account wasn't monetized. Hyun, upon learning that Tatar hadn't enabled monetization for his video, may have begun to feel a sense of frustration or disappointment since it was a missed opportunity for Tatar to earn revenue from his content. As the situation unfolded, Hyun may have come to the realization that Tatar's failure to enable monetization on his video had indeed led to a wasted opportunity. Tatar, feeling a sense of fear or unease in response to Hyun's apparent disappointment, explained that he had refrained from enabling monetization on his video because he hadn't obtained the consent of Hyun and Ain first. Recognizing that he had overreacted and that Tatar was just a kid, Hyun extended a compliment to him. He acknowledged Tatar's skills in video editing. Hyun, looking at the brighter side of the situation, realized that there could still be an opportunity to earn money through collaboration with Tatar. Hyun harbored the hope that Ain would agree to collaborate with Tatar, recognizing her as a significant asset in their duo gameplay. As Hyun was contemplating the possibility of collaborating with Tatar and thinking about Ain, she suddenly appeared right in front of him. Hyun offered Ain a seat, indicating his readiness to discuss the business matters and potential collaboration with Tatar. After a thorough explanation and discussion about the potential collaboration and its implications, Ain took her time to carefully consider her decision. Ain's careful consideration extended to ensuring she didn't miss any important details or aspects of the discussion. To do so, she took the time to repeat and recap all the explanations. As Ain carefully reviewed all the explanations and details, Hyun couldn't help but feel nervous. He understood that Ain's agreement was crucial for the collaboration to proceed. Ain, after careful consideration, stood up and voiced her opinion, expressing that she was not okay with the collaboration. Ain's discomfort with the idea of people she didn't know watching her play but Hyan acknowledged her feelings by respecting Ain's opinion. Ain couldn't help but feel touched by Hyan's maturity and his respectful response to her decision. Ain, likely still considering the implications of the collaboration and Hyan's motivations, asked him once again if he truly needed the money. In response, Hyan clarified that he wasn't in desperate need of money. Ain's apparent reconsideration of her decision left Hyan feeling confused about whether she had changed her mind and was now considering the collaboration. Ain, reflecting on Hyan's kindness and respecting his desires, appeared willing to support a decision that he favored. In a generous and understanding gesture, Ain proposed that Hyan could go on an adventure without her, effectively giving him her consent to collaborate with Tatar. Hyan, initially nervous about Ain's reaction, Ain clarified that it would be better for both of them to reach the same level in the game. Ain, demonstrating her support and understanding of Hyan's desire to collaborate with Tatar, decided to log out for a while. This gesture allowed Hyan the space and opportunity to pursue the collaboration. While Ain felt disappointed that they wouldn't be a duo for a while due to their decision to collaborate separately, she prioritized Hyan's happiness in making his own choices. Despite Hyan's desire to collaborate with Tatar and explore new gaming opportunities, he also didn't like the idea of playing without his best gaming partner and duo, Ain. Hyan's feelings of frustration and disappointment were evident as he grappled with the idea of embarking on an adventure alone, without his cherished gaming partner, Ain. Hyan's main concern was his uncertainty about whether he could effectively play the game by himself, especially when he considered Ain to be his biggest asset in their gaming adventures. Tatar, understanding Ain's discomfort with the idea of fame, made the decision to take down the video. On the other hand, Hyan felt disheartened by Ain's departure, leaving him with mixed emotions. Hyan's sadness was palpable as he grappled with the prospect of playing an online game all alone. As Hyan contemplated the idea of going solo in the game, he tried to recall his previous adventures. However, most of his memorable experiences involved having a companion, whether it was the time he assimilated with a doll or the heroic rescue of Louise from captivity. Hyan was under significant pressure, particularly because his role in the game primarily involved being a support player, and he had reservations about the idea of exposing his assimilation skills, which is not something he wanted to make public. As Hyan contemplated his options and the potential challenges of going solo in the game, Tatar took the initiative to make the video private. Hyan, after some contemplation, decided to reach out to Tatar. Hyan, though feeling uncomfortable with the situation, made an effort to reassure Tatar that he didn't have to worry. Hyan, in an effort to ease any concerns Tatar might have, clarified that he wouldn't sue Tatar for uploading their gameplay. However, the mention of the word sue seemed to have startled Tatar. Tatar became even more apprehensive when Hyan suddenly asked him to keep a secret. Hyan and Tatar embarked on an adventure at the Novice Necromancer's dungeon, but Tatar couldn't help feeling nervous in such an eerie and unsettling environment. In the absence of Ain, Hyan considered teaming up with Tatar as his duo for the adventure. This decision aimed to make Tatar's video recording more worthwhile. Despite Hyan using the assimilation skill with Tatar and being right beside him, Tatar couldn't help but feel incredibly scared for his life. Hyan, despite Tatar's initial fear and anxiety, placed his faith in their partnership as they worked together in the dungeon. He held the hope that Tatar would gradually adapt and learn from their shared experiences. Hyan understood that Tatar was not the type of kid to betray his trust or reveal their shared experiences. However, he also recognized that Tatar was feeling overwhelmed and pressured to keep up with him. Upon observing Tatar's personal data, which indicated that he was at level 59 with a character class of Thief, Hyan noticed some unusual skill choices. He concluded that Tatar's skill choices might have been inspired by posts he had seen online. Upon closer examination, Hyan discovered that Tatar possessed a useful skill called Combo, which allowed him to stack combos and increase his movement. Additionally, Tatar had an awakening skill called Trance, which boosts his attack combos. As Tatar entered the dungeon, Hyan decided to film Tatar's new combo record. While advancing through the dungeon, Hyan expressed his curiosity about the ranks of Tatar's weapons. Tatar replied that his weapons were of the magic type. Hyan observed that Tatar was still lacking in game currency, and he made a promise that once they earned money from their YouTube endeavors, they would use it to purchase new weapons for Tatar. Suddenly, a group of formidable opponents appeared in front of Tatar and Hyan, posing a significant challenge in their path. Tatar felt a doubt, wondering if he could defeat the intimidating group of skeletons in front of him. Hyan, however, reassured Tatar that he had the capability to overcome the challenge, as the opponents were all at level 30. To demonstrate the effective strategy and techniques required to defeat the skeletons, Hyan decided to temporarily take over Tatar's character Hyan's gameplay demonstrated incredible speed and precision as he swiftly moved through the group of mobs, instantly dispatching them with ease. The experience of assimilating with another body in the game, different from his usual partner Aang, provided him with a sense of excitement. Tatar, witnessing Hyan's incredible gaming skills, was deeply astonished to the point that he thought of uploading the video of this remarkable gameplay crossed his mind immediately. Despite Tatar's enthusiasm and eagerness to share the video, Hyan remained humble and believed that his performance was not sufficient to make the video go viral. Hyan suggested that if they were going to create gameplay content, it should be taken to an even more extraordinary and captivating location or scenario. With the goal of creating an extraordinary gameplay video, Hyan made the bold decision for them to venture deeper into the dungeon, specifically to the dungeon's core where a multitude of skeleton mobs awaited them. Before venturing into Asrian Online, Hyan had already gained recognition as a top-ranked player in Asrat Online despite being a complete newbie when he first started playing. During his time in Asrat Online, Hyan's character class was also a thief, similar to Tatar's current class. However, Hyan's choice of weapons differed, as he specialized in using dual swords. In the latter half of Asrat Online, Hyan made a significant change in his choice of weapons. While he initially used dual-wielded swords, he eventually switched to using a two-handed sword. Hyan had a penchant for a stylish approach to combat in games, and that's why he thoroughly enjoyed the experience of assimilating with Tatar during their gaming adventures. Hyan offered valuable advice to Tatar, emphasizing that being a thief could be an exceptionally strong job if one could stack combos indefinitely. However, he also pointed out that there were limitations. Hyan was pleased to hear that Tatar had grasped the reasons for their journey to the core of the dungeon. He advised Tatar to be patient and take their time as they progressed deeper into the dungeon. Tatar learned that, in order to reach the core of the dungeon, they had to clear all the paths by eliminating mobs in the outer areas. Hyan held the hope that Tatar would have faith in their strategy and continue recording their gaming adventures for content creation. Hyan held a strong sense of confidence that Tatar had no reason to worry, as he had strategically chosen the best location for Tatar to utilize his combo skills effectively. In addition to being an ideal location for Tatar to utilize his combo skills, it was also the perfect place for creating content and showcasing their gaming prowess. Tatar was undoubtedly impressed and sure that Hyan possessed amazing skills when it came to online games. But Tatar expressed curiosity about whether a player could effectively damage enemies without using a weapon, especially given Hyan's use of his bare hands during their gameplay. Hyan firmly believed that his unique fighting style, which involved using his bare hands, was the most effective way to maximize the use of combos. Hyan advised Tatar to take a step back and observe as he finally drew his weapon. Hyan wielded two daggers with impressive swiftness, leading to the swift and complete annihilation of the skeleton monster. Hyan used the opportunity to demonstrate not only the importance of using abilities, but also the timing and decision-making behind their usage. Tatar was astonished by the accuracy of Hyan's advice as he witnessed Hyan throw a dagger directly at the skeleton monster's head. While the monster was momentarily distracted by the thrown dagger, Hyan capitalized on the opportunity and unleashed a powerful combo attack using his fists. Tatar realized that Hyan had strategically planned and execute his actions. Tatar was in a state of disbelief, utterly astonished by Hyan's exceptional gaming skills and strategic brilliance. Upon reaching the core of the dungeon, Tatar had a realization that Hyan had strategically planned their trajectory in a way that allowed them to face multiple enemies simultaneously. Hyan executed a series of consecutive eliminations, targeting the same type of monsters with high damage points. Despite not being able to obtain any more combos for the next 5 minutes, Hyan remained undeterred by the situation. Hyan made the most of his remaining time by using all available combos against the mobs. With a powerful display of force, Hyan annihilated the mobs using a combination of his fists and the assistance of a single dagger. Despite the game warning Hyan that he didn't have enough time to use the combos, he skillfully managed to help Tatar achieve various in-game accolades, including titles such as Mercenary Master, Veteran Weapons Specialist, and Skilled Soldier. Tatar couldn't help but worry about how long Hyan could sustain his extraordinary abilities and combat prowess. As Tatar observed Hyan's clean and precise combat style, he was inspired and felt like he could learn to emulate Hyan's techniques. Hyan demonstrated remarkable consistency in his gameplay, repeatedly showcasing his impressive abilities. Hyan now confronted a group of skeleton monsters that had a more elaborate and stylish appearance. As Hyan successfully annihilated the fancy monsters, he not only continued to showcase his combat prowess, but also helped Tatar increase his agility. Hyan decided to show off his powerless wave. As Hyan demonstrated his powerless wave and showcased his exceptional ability, the skeleton monsters in the game began to feel intimidated by him. For Hyan, the exhilaration of his uncontrollable speed was undeniable, and he was thoroughly enjoying himself. In a climactic moment, with hordes of skeleton monsters standing before him, Hyan unleashed a devastating attack that annihilated them all. After the intense battle, the realization that Hyan could accomplish what seemed impossible within the game and witnessing Hyan's incredible display of skills, Tatar was left in profound astonishment. But Hyan advised Tatar that what they had experienced so far was just the tip of the iceberg in terms of what they could achieve in the game. Tatar wanted to seek Hyan's consent to upload the video of their adventure. However, Hyan found the question unnecessary because uploading the video was their primary goal from the beginning. Hyan felt a deep sense of gratitude for the full impact of the combo skill, which allowed him to eliminate all the enemies with a single, devastating hit. Tatar had reached a point where he no longer cared about the potential monetary gains from exploiting Hyan's incredible methods and capabilities. Hyan, in contrast to Tatar's concerns, was perfectly fine with the idea of Tatar emulating his gaming techniques and strategies. Hyan held the belief that some people lacked the fundamental understanding of gaming mechanics because those who struggled to grasp the basics would find it challenging to replicate his gameplay style and strategies. Hyan's belief that the combo skill was particularly challenging to master unless facing undead opponents resonated with Tatar as they navigated the dungeon. Hyan disclosed that the dungeon they were exploring had become his personal hunting ground, which explained his mastery of the area. Tatar had a sudden realization that Hyan's exceptional gaming skills in Asrian Online were likely attributed to his prior experience as an Asra Online. Hyan came to the realization that there was no need to keep his identity as a top Asra Online player hidden from Tatar, especially since Tatar was such a devoted fan. Hyan, realizing that transparency was key in their collaboration, decided to discuss the details of how they would share the revenue generated from the content they were planning to upload. In their discussion about revenue sharing, Hyan proposed a fair and equitable distribution of the earnings from their content. However, Tatar surprised Hyan by insisting that Hyan should keep all the revenue. Tatar believed that the assistance Hyan provided in increasing his level and achievements within the game was already a significant contribution. Hyan was profoundly touched by Tatar's selflessness and kindness. Despite Tatar's insistence that he didn't need a share of the revenue, Hyan decided to give him 10% as a gesture of appreciation for his kindness. In the real world, a gamer who was friends with Tatar became curious about his recent activities. Arnang, who had been in the same guild as Tatar in the past, was excited to hear about Tatar's gaming experience with Hyan. Tatar happily shared with Arnang that Hyan and Ain were good people with unique personalities. Arnang expressed pride in Tatar for having the opportunity to play with such amazing people. Arnang recognized Hyan's selflessness for giving Tatar 10% of the revenue, despite his incredible skills and contributions to the gameplay content. Arnang, acting like a big brother, promised Tatar that he would provide him with some advice on becoming a YouTube content creator. Tatar was thrilled by the offer.
Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up, leave a comment, and subscribe. And if you'd like to contribute further, you can now buy me a coffee. Every little bit helps in creating more quality content for you. Just click the Buy Me a Coffee link in the description below. And don't forget to hit the notification bell so you never miss a new video.